everyone, welcome to the Adventures of Holly. I am back in the Driftless area after taking a trip up north to the lakes last weekend. This week I went to Wildcat Mountain State Park in Wisconsin's Kickapoo Valley, and my crew for this hike was my mom and Rascal and Moky. The first place we went was the Overlook near the parking lot at the upper picnic area. I saw a big bird flying that looked like a vulture, and it was probably a turkey vulture. I didn't manage to get a picture of it. It flew off right away and didn't come back. I did get it on my GoPro, but you can't really tell how big it is. It looked much bigger in person than it does on the film. While we were at the Overlook, Moky decided to get an even better view and jumped up on the wall, which he has never done before. We had decided not to put them in their harnesses today and left them in their choke chains, so if he had fallen, he would have either slipped out of the chain and fallen to his death, or have gotten hanged on the chain if he didn't slip out. And since he was leashed, my mom was able to pull him back right away. And Wisconsin state parks do require you to keep your dog leashed and under control at all times, and do remember that that's as much for your dog's safety as it is for everyone else. Even if your dog is super friendly and you don't think he'll attack animals or people, they can be unpredictable. Your dog being friendly doesn't mean that my dogs are friendly or somebody else's dogs are friendly. So you don't want them to be able to just walk up to any random person or dog because you don't know what's going to happen. And you don't want them to go after a squirrel in the woods or anything. And you definitely don't want them to jump up on the wall of an overlook and potentially fall over. So just remember to always keep your dog on a leash, so if they do something that could be dangerous to them, you will be able to pull them back and keep them safe. We hiked along the Old Settlers Trail, which is a loop that's about 2.5 miles long, and this is the longest hike that Moky and Rascal have done, and they were pretty worn out at the end of it. Just like at Wildlucine, we got a newspaper thing with information about Wildcat Mountain. A lot of the historical information in it is not really interesting at all. It talks about the early days of white settlers and contradicts itself a lot. So there's one sentence that says there was not much crime in the early days of white settlement, and then it goes on to talk about how the Kickapoo Valley was a place for missionaries where crime and corruption abound. So one sentence it says there wasn't really any crime, and then the next sentence it says they were in desperate need of missionaries because there was so much crime. So I don't really know if it was talking about different time periods or what, but it's not very well written. The section about the state park's beginnings is what I'm most interested in. It says that Amos Theodore Saunders gave a 20-acre tract in 1938, but it does not say who he gave it to, so I'm not sure if he gave it to Vernon County or the state of Wisconsin or who it was to protect the land as parkland. Wildcat Mountain wasn't established as a state park until 1948, so 10 years after Amos Saunders gave away that 20 acres. It started with 60 acres donated by Vernon County, so presumably the 20 acres that Amos Saunders gave was part of that. And since then, the park has grown to 3,643 acres. The Flora and Fauna section is pretty much the same as the one from Wildlucine, where it just says that they're a rare and protected species, but doesn't actually say what they are. It did talk a lot about the different fern species in the park, which were very cool. We got a lot of pictures of those. So if you do go and visit Wildcat Mountain, I would recommend looking up what kinds of ferns there are, so you'll be able to spot which ones are different and see all the different varieties for yourself. There were also a lot of flowers that were blooming when we were there. My favorite ones were the blackberry flowers, and there were not any berries growing on the plants yet, but the flowers were super pretty. But because they are the blackberry flowers there, just be prepared for a lot of brambles along the trail. We did catch a lot of glimpses of wildlife at Wildcat Mountain. Mostly it was just hearing something moving through the woods and then seeing it running away from us. So we didn't really get any good pictures or anything to be able to identify most of what we saw, but there were a couple bunnies and a deer, definitely. So there's a lot to see there, and if you're quiet, you might actually get to see it. One wildlife that we were able to identify was when we got home, I found a tick on my leg. And in Wisconsin, we have deer ticks and wood ticks. And I'm pretty sure this one was a deer tick, which is the one that carries Lyme's disease. But you are supposed to be okay if you get it off within 24 hours, which I did, and I haven't had any symptoms of Lyme's disease yet, so I think I'm fine. One thing I wanted to mention is that the proper way to pull off a tick, if you do get one, is to get a tweezers and get as close to the head as possible and just tweeze it off. You don't want to get the body and leave the head on there. But if you get it right away and it's only just bitten you and hasn't started burrowing into your skin or whatever it is they do, you should be fine. And they're super easy to just pull off like that. So don't worry about it if you do get a tick, just make sure you get it off right away and make sure you get every piece of it off. So since I did get that tick, obviously I was not wearing bug repellent, which I should have been wearing. I did get one in my Cairn box that I really like. Cairn is a subscription box like Ipsy, but for hiking and camping gear instead of makeup. It's about $30 a month and you get some pretty cool stuff in it. I have the link in the description box down below if you think that sounds cool and want to try it. And last month they sent me this bug repellent. It's called Natrapel. My friends and I used them the whole time we were in Boulder Junction the other weekend, and it works super well. It's just like this wipe that you wipe all over your body. It's not a spray. And we did have horseflies still buzzing around us, but we didn't get bitten by anything and the mosquitoes stayed well away, so I would definitely recommend trying it. I love it. It's so great. As always, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Holly Geraldson to see all of my pictures from my hiking and other adventures, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, of course, to keep up with all of my videos.